Hey, greetings, good people.
Hello, it's the Lambs, you guys.
Yes, we are here today. We starting our kickoff podcast called The Shift,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of want to keep it in the content of positive energy, having positive energy for, black couples or
Right,
any couples,
right,
period. Something more positive. Um, there's a lot going on in the world, and, we're trying to keep the vibration up, keep the algorithm up, because it's tough to break down some of this new age energy and these new thoughts on just love and relationship and business and just everything. Period. The world is moving in a certain direction fast.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we're looking to talk about. A lot of people are single now. That's like a big thing on the internet. There's a lot of competition between black women and black men specifically. Even though there's internal wars going on within the black community as well, just in business and how we treat each other in business. We see that with Cat Williams and him exposing a lot of people now. Just talking about just being truthful, being straight up, and not, changing your vibration based upon what society's calling for, what the industry's calling for.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of like we're trying to maintain that algorithm of you know being a black family, being a black couple, and still going after our success and approaching business from a sacrificial standpoint. Each of us both being individuals and having our own goals, however, working together collectively. So we're talking about how we had to make a shift
Mm-hmm.
and come into an agreement on, how we're going to pursue something that we both desire to achieve.
Right. And so both of us are in the film industry. I've been in it for a little bit over 15 years or so, in front and behind the camera. And when Akachi and I met, that's what I was doing. And he was, wanting to write scripts and everything, and he has this really dope content, and I was like, yeah, let's do this or whatever. So that's how I guess you could say we initially came together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it started out as business, and since then we're gonna have honest conversation here, right? So since then, um, we we didn't even wait a year to get married. I think we got married 10 months later after we met.
I don't know exactly. I
I
mean,
think
I
it.
don't. I couldn't know. Yeah, it was 10 months and 3 days. I don't
Well,
remember.
it was about 10 months uh, later, 10 or 11 months later that we got married. So, um, one thing that I think we'll talk about some of our challenges, and we'll talk about some of the things that have really worked for us and how we've had to maneuver through it all. Some of the challenges were me, first of all, I'm already pretty much established um, in the independent, excuse me, the independent film industry. So I had already had a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge about the industry, how to maneuver in the industry, what the pros and cons are in the industry, and the challenges that you may have. So I think when we first got together, merging those me with the experience and then him learning, there is a balance that you have to have when it comes down to conversation and communication, because with me knowing it almost was like it if I didn't talk to him a certain type of way, it could come off demasculating him. Is that a word? Emasculating.
Demasculating.
Emasculating him. Is that a word?
Demas.
Demasculate. I don't know. It sounds like demasculate is supposed to be a word. I feel so daunted right now. We just both got over COVID, so it's not all there right now. But but anyway, and I had to be careful in how I talk to him, you know, and try to teach him, because men can be sensitive. You know, they say they're not sensitive, baby, they are sensitive. So, but and I had to make sure that I talked to him in a way that he would understand what I was trying to say without talking down to him. But sometimes, or him feeling like I'm talking down to him.
Right.
And so,
and I just want to clarify something. Like, I've been in the music industry for several, probably almost the majority of my adult life.
right,
In my 20s, I've been chasing music in and out of studios all throughout the country, and I had some success in production, some films. I had my own recording studio, so I'm not new to the entertainment industry,
Right.
so to speak.
right,
Writing scripts and going into film is a different, I think it's like 6 years now. I probably have, I've been writing for 6
for
years.
6 years now.
And I probably have like 10 feature films, episodic, as of today.
Yeah, the scripts.
The scripts, they're not out yet. But yeah, what she's saying is true. It took me a while to understand, because I'm also a contractor, so I believe in a certain process. Things work with a formula. You do certain things. And it took me quite some time to understand that the film industry is a industry that is really, it shit don't happen overnight. And this same thing, it's really like the music industry. It's very similar. So, but in this particular industry, you get a lot of people who tell you they're going to do this and do that, and then there's just don't never happen.
They don't.
So,
and so with that being said, there was a situation a few times, where I would tell him, we're going to do this, we got to do it on our own, because and that's one thing I want to tell you guys. Like, when you have a goal, or if it's something that you want to do, or if a dream that was given to you, that God gave you, then that's what you have to remember, that God gave you that, and everybody else is not going to believe in you. You're not going to have the support that you would like to have, and that feels awful, because you would hope that those who love you, your friends, your family, will be there to support you no matter what you're doing, and that's not always so. So you have to go out in this industry, you have to find your own money, or you will be waiting for somebody to invest in you, or invest in your project and stuff like that, and it's not easy. So for us, it was definitely making sure that he had an understanding of that.
And also something that I believe in, because it's just as much as I'm into entertainment, I'm also into spirituality. I did consultations and done certain things. When I met her, I was deeply into doing consultations for trauma in people. And it's
right.
And my spiritual practice was probably the most prominent thing that I had going on in my life at that time. And just for anyone out there who's trying to be successful in film, music, or in anything, there's core principles and things that have to be restored within you. And I'm talking from personal experience. Like, there's building blocks to success. There's building blocks to having a successful family.
Right.
There's building blocks into having a successful contracting company and building a structure properly. And a lot of times we don't achieve success because we don't understand the sacred geometry to having a foundation, a solid foundation.
Right.
And that, to me, is the key to being successful, because when you have those things in place, you're already kind of successful. You have the confidence and you have a certain demeanor that you carry when you have those things in place. So with that being said, for some people out there who are wanting to be diehard artists, or wanting to, hit the road and try to be what you can be, understand that it's a great sacrifice. Even when I was young, trying to do music, I had left my first family, and I went to Atlanta to pursue music, and the shit didn't work out. It didn't work out the way I planned it to work out, and I believe to this day that it's because I wasn't supposed to, and I didn't have my ducks in a row. I wasn't doing the right thing as a father in my life. So my success was short-lived. I was around like major artists back when I was in my 20s. I had a recording studio. I was straight out the streets now, and there was some street things going on to maintain all these things. But however, when I came to the footsteps of success, there was something that kicked me off of that porch, and my life, it returned back into me dealing with my family, dealing with my kids, which is a whole nother. It's a whole nother. It all ties together, but it's a serious story.
So would you say that you said the thing that kicked you off the porch? Would you say that's your shift? Like,
I would say
was that
that
your shift, or like specifically what happened that you can say was your shift to make you say, I need to change my thought in how I move forward with family and how that links with my success?
I would say that it was ancestral. And there's just no other way I can put it, because at that particular time in my life, I was young, but I was diehard on what I wanted to do. But it wasn't, it's just like yesterday to me. Like, I remember the stuff like it's yesterday, and that's 25 years ago. You know what I'm saying? When I was in this same position that I'm in today, and understanding like, there are certain things that I know that you have to put back in place, and I know you know what I'm talking about. There's certain things you're just not going to move forward on if you don't have certain things in place in life. And that was my first lesson to watching some of my friends and some of my peers achieve certain levels of success, and I can't even say and be as righteous as I may have thought I was, even doing dirt. And for me, God just was like, nah. But it could have been, I don't know if it was the industry or some of the things that I discovered about myself, about my real true gifts, could have been why I was held up. And then she's right. It was a shift, but this shift was a transition, and it wasn't a short transition. Because sometimes we're very strong-minded people. Like we try to accomplish things with tunnel vision. And that shit can take you on a long journey. And I can honestly say that I've learned music, I've learned building, and I had 2 failed long-term relationships, 1 marriage, during this time period. So for me, coming to now, I can say that I shifted into a different level of patience and understanding, and also a wanting to have a foundation. You dig what I'm saying?
So it was your understanding of that you had to have that foundation, and that's, I guess, spiritual experiences is what kind of brought you that shift, and that it took some time.
Knowing that you have the gift, but the door's closed.
So how did you recognize that, though, Akachi? Like, how did you recognize? I know you knew that you were off. We all know when we're off track, but how did you know what was I don't know, not tangible, but what came to you, your enlightenment, that said, okay, these are the specific things that are off? Did it happen like that for you? Did you know that my foundation wasn't there? Like, what were the things, or some of the things that you knew were off, and how did you get on track?
Because I'm a mathematical person and not algebra and calculus, I see things in the order of operation. Like, if you do X, Y, and Z, you should get this result. So when you plan on doing an album, and you are experiencing resistance, for instance, you finish your album, the studio gets robbed, somebody steals your masters. Or you finish another album, and the person you did the album with gets incarcerated. So these are like things, even though something's happening in this person's life, it's happening in your life too. So at that particular time, I feel like I had a dark shadow following me around. There was anything that I tried to do, it was knocking off what I was doing. All the way up until I became enlightened. And by default, information about spirituality started coming into my life. And I started shifting more and more into studying and having knowledge of self than thinking about in fact, my music was started incorporating certain knowledge, certain schools of thoughts like the Kemetic tradition, Nuwapian tradition, even Christianity, Islam. You know, we studied that stuff when I was very, very young. So that those things forced me to jump into to watch my music, but you know, the spiritual path started becoming more than the entertainment path. So some people's given gifts and given powers that you're gonna have to use them. Like if you was gifted to be a speaker or an enlightened person, a healer, to some degree, though the world and the way the world looks now, it may be hard for you to use those things, but you got to figure it out. And you know, let's hear some of your stories. You know, about you know, your challenges and to achieving, and maybe why you may feel like you haven't achieved what you need, where you need to be.
Right. I think for me, it's like you said, it was definitely a challenge and a transition. We are both definitely from different spectrums, from different upbringings. You being from the city, me being from the country. You being a little bit more urban, I guess you could say, where I'm chicken farm, you know, and even our family structure, you know, my mom, my dad, all 6 kids, you, your dad, and your brother. And so with, I think with me, how life was before you was very systematic in the way that I was trained, right? And when I say trained, I'm not saying like you got to do this is no. It's the way my family. It was the culture of my family, the way my family handled things, the way they maneuvered through life, and so because I watched it or I had to participate in it, it became my training, and I was very, very locked in on it, and that's who I am, you know. And even me, when born and raised in the Church of God in Christ, my background is Pentecostal. And so, and I don't think you really went to church, right? I don't think, he didn't really go to church. So, so when I started, life wasn't very kind to me at a young age. My family's great. But I did have some challenges, some things that happened to me that maybe that'll be another video, but some things that happened to me that's caused a lot of trauma in my life. And as an adult, although I was in church and doing what I was told to do, the trauma was not getting taken care of, right? I was always told to pray and this, that, and the other. And, and it did help. Don't get me wrong. It did help, but the trauma never left. And that's the truth of it. The trauma never left. No one taught me how to get rid of the trauma.
So you feel like maybe the trauma has I don't want to say affected, but has become a part of your journey to success. And maybe it was either limiting in certain ways or maybe not.
So it was a block. It blocked me. It would only let me, like the limitations, it would only let me go so far because there was trust issues. There was issues where I felt like I wasn't being seen, I wasn't being heard. And with that, I guess you could say I would get a little angry, and I would probably work harder. I would want to be better. And you know, even when I ran track and field, I would train with the boys, you know, so that I could be better than the girls, you know. So I would always go a little bit further than the norm, but I wasn't doing it because I was being competitive. I was doing it because I was trying to prove a point. And that point where I'm trying to say, oh, I'm trying to prove you wrong. No, I was trying to prove myself to be worthy. And, but I was doing it all wrong, absolutely all wrong. And that was even in, as I got older and getting into the film industry, and, you know, even from my previous marriage and how that went down with the kids and all that kind of stuff. It was very traumatic for me. And, I use that. Okay, let me put it to you this way, to make a long story short. And I've told you this analogy before. Imagine you having a broken leg. It snapped. And you don't have the money nor the insurance to go to the doctor. So you put 2 pieces of wood on it, wrap it up, and you heal it yourself. And it does heal. Indeed, it does heal, but it heals incorrectly. So now, you know, it's together. You can walk, but you walk with a little limp. And every time the weather gets cold, you feel pain there. And so eventually you get tired of it. So you go to the doctor and you explain to the doctor what happened. And so now he's looking at it and he takes an x-ray and he says, yeah, so the only way we can heal this is we're going to have to re-break it. So that's what I had to go through. I had to go through being rebroken, exposing the trauma, and going through the process of trying to heal. And once I started doing that, that's when my shift started happening. That's when it started happening, because I started dealing with the trauma. I started dealing with self. I stopped pointing fingers at other people and I started looking at myself. And I'm very, very good at that even to this day. I will look in the mirror and I will ask myself, what are you doing that is keeping you from going to the next level? Did you handle that properly? Did you say the right things? Why did you say those things? Because there's always an intention behind what you say and what you do. So, yeah, that I started just trying to deal with my trauma.
Yeah, and even for myself, like, I didn't grow up with a mother, and I grew up with I grew up in a broken family for real, like a seriously broken family. And a lot of times, like, I'm gonna take this into the spirit world because I gotta be real. We're in a new time now, a place of truth. That, you know, some things you have to fix. Yeah, every generation can't ignore and run around and be at the playground and doing all of the fun shit all the time. Some things you gotta fix. And you can't look in your lineage no more and see something like you could have had a mother that was abused, that was raped, and certain things happened to her and it's passed to you. You may either experience that or it may cause you genetically to receive a hindrance in your own way that you think. You may not naturally not trust certain people, right?
Because it's encoded in your DNA now, right?
Right. So you carry these things like this. This is the time period where you need to be working on that type of stuff and healing it and fixing it. And it's more important, to be honest with you, it's more important than being successful in a material world. However, if you have to do these certain things, you will learn how to incorporate your trauma into your purpose. Right. Whether you're a filmmaker, you're shooting documentaries, whether you're doing music or whatever it is. But I trust and believe this, one thing I can tell you for sure. God is not going to let you slide through without handling your generational stuff. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. Your success will be limited, and it's a journey to deal with your ancestral, your genetic, what we call sins, generational sins or curses. You got to deal with that stuff, and most of the time it's not as bad as you may think it is. It typically is a genetic disposition, something that's recorded in your DNA that causes you to act a certain way. In most cases, you may not be familiar with it, but when you're denied, when you come to the doorsteps of success, and you keep knocking on the door, and you can't get in that door, then you have to really start asking questions. What is it? It doesn't really have to be, hey, I'm cursed. That's not what it has to be. But it also said, I needed, what can this vibration of what I'm trying to achieve, what am I not carrying within myself that will allow me to go through this door?
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that you have to ask yourself. You have to look. I always tell people, look at the flip side of the coin. When something don't work for you, or something is always not bad. Sometimes it's God just don't want you going in that room because there's something in there that you may not like, or it could be something bad for you, or something you're not ready for.
God blocked it.
And if you look at the entertainment industry now, and you hear all of these scandals and all of this stuff that's going on, you can honestly see that for all you entertainers, filmmakers, rappers, dancers, comedians, whoever you are, you can see that the industry is a very, very dirty place.
It's very dark. It's dark. And when you're in the dark, you have to be the light. And that is in your art, that's in your work. Even if you do dark pieces, you still have to be able to tell something in there that's going to bring forth the light in some particular way. And you have to be clever about how you do that, because there is a responsibility in being an artist. Because whatever you're putting on screen, or whatever you're painting, whatever you're singing, those people believe that that's your thought. Because the truth of the matter is, it is your thoughts. It came from you. You conceived that idea. You conceived that content. So if you conceive that content, then that is a way of thinking that you are programmed yourself to believe, or not even believe, but there is a possibility that what you're thinking could be true. Or even in fantasy, you would like it to be that way, So I just think that when it comes down to having a shift, the first thing, in order for the shift to happen in your life, and there are many shifts that happen in your life, but the first is to recognize that you're in a place that is not serving you. Or you have already passed that place. You have already done everything you can do in that place. So why are you still sitting there? You have to challenge yourself, or know or feel that you are being shifted a different way. For example, and I think this is a great example, I've lived in Texas all my life, outside of living in Oklahoma, and outside of living in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, because military, for both of those places. But I've been in Texas all my life, and I've been a filmmaker down there in Dallas. And I felt like after doing several films and several projects that there was nothing else I could do there. My growth had stopped. There was nothing else. And once my growth had stopped, I knew I had to push myself, or that's as far as I was going to go. And there was something in me that said, no, there's more. There's so much more. And I felt it. And I just kept, for 2 years, I just kept hearing, it's in Atlanta, go to Atlanta, go to Atlanta. And I was like, I don't even know anybody in Atlanta. I had one cousin who lived there, but then she moved. So I was like, I'm going to be there by myself. But I went ahead and I came with the blessings of my family. And when I got here, that's when life started. It started shifting for me, because I had to look at myself. I had to start, the healing process was about to start, because I wasn't even healed then when I came here. I was not healed. I thought I was, but I really wasn't. And so that first step of just being alone, then you can't do anything but look at yourself. You have all the time in the world to think and to look at the world around you. And so life started happening for me in a challenging but healthy way. And the reason why I say healthy is because although I went through a lot of pain, I went through a lot of heartbreak, even down here, all of it was necessary. Every last bit of it was necessary for me to be able to face it and face what I'm doing wrong, face how I perceive things, and change my mind, you know. And I do have to attribute a lot of that to you. And when you came into my life, you did teach me a lot of things. And you definitely helped me get past a lot of things with the trauma. So I do have to attribute that to you.
Yeah, and also like, because we stand on the topic of black couples, there's things that being divine feminine, divine masculine, that when you come together, you really do become one entity. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of bullshit that you got to iron out. There's a lot of ways that we think that are difficult, but one thing that does happen when you struggle or whenever you work on your relationship, the right thing always stands in the center of you.
Yeah.
So no matter how much you disagree, your own biasness will always push you to the center of what to do, what's exactly right. Mm-hmm. And when you're single, I'm not taking those shots and saying what's being single isn't a good thing. I know a lot of happy single people, mm-hmm. and a lot of successful single folks too. But definitely when you get in a marriage, it's introspection, because you have your mirror. You have someone, mm-hmm. always saying, I don't like that. That don't make sense. And this shit you could have been believing your whole life. No, this is how I do it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a degree of compromise, and it really helps you to deal with things that you could live on your own with. You can live on your own lonely boat, mm-hmm. and, sit back and live your life. However, being in a relationship it challenges you to do things that you probably normally wouldn't do. And it also gives you balance, because even in any of these two worlds, a single man or a single woman, you're going to run into them demons and them, mm-hmm. devils out there that want you to compromise certain things about you, be it a female or a male.
Right.
However, the devil cometh to throw you off your path, to distract you, or to compromise.
Mm-hmm. And let me piggyback on that. When he says that, I have to think that you also mean the right relationship, the right person. Because if you're with the wrong person, they will tear you all the way down. They will tear you down. And you have to be able to recognize, is this person building me up or tearing me down? They're only going to do one or two, And if that person is not building you up and challenging you to be great, then don't waste your time. Like, really, don't waste your time, because you got things to do.
Right. And also, like, be able to introspect. Because if 4 people tell you some shit about yourself and you still standing back like it ain't you, it's all them, it's you.
It's you.
And yes, we do. Like, God always puts you in situations to level up and to stay on the same level, because you're going to get that thing dangled in your face that you always been eating on and biting on, that keeps you at a certain vibration, and that other challenging thing just getting you to step up and raise your vibration so you can elevate. Sometimes it could appear to be difficult to you at first, and I always tell her that I had to learn and be disciplined to listen to God and the many other voices that come from trauma, distrust, that listen to God's voice and override all of these other voices that I'm hearing in my mind, from being insecure, from being abandoned, from being whatever happened, as a youth. You have to learn how to listen to God again, because the devil plays on that energy, that insecurity, that trauma energy. That's where he pimps you at every time. So sometimes the smallest door, and this is some Negro stuff. This is our culture for sure. We cannot recognize an opportunity when we see it. We've been shaded to when sometimes somebody can be teaching you something that you're not going to learn, that you're going to have to go to an institute to learn, to college to learn. Somebody can be teaching you some shit that they spent $60,000 on doing for education, and you can just get out of here. There's many doors that I went through, many small little doors I went through. There was absolutely no money involved in these situations. And I went in those situations with a pure heart and a pure mind, and I helped out with my gifts as much as I could. And those things have blossomed into something that I didn't see it at first.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important, even in being in a marriage, that you have to learn to listen to God.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, before you get married, he probably cheating. I know you still talking to so-and-so. I know you still talking to homegirl. Or you looking at her, you looking at this. All of them little wicked thoughts you got in your mind, all of that stuff is, it really comes from not committing yourself into a situation of being married. You know, some people, I don't need to be married. That's some government shit. You know, somebody saying that right now.
Mm-hmm.
But those are this particular covenant that you create. And believe me, I study different things in spirituality. I look at things. I can see things. I don't need to get into what it is, but I can see the difference between someone who's in a relationship and someone who's married. There's a different energy.
Hello.
There's a different spiritual energy, and it's a different level of protection that those people had, just like your parents when they was married. That's why you such a good person to this day. So just the single energy, the marriage energy, there's a big difference. And I don't, even into levels of success, there's a lot of couples in Hollywood right now that are doing great. There's some of them that ain't. I'm not going to get into them people, but we know who them people is. But there are some couples that just stand strong and firm throughout, like Angela Bassett and her husband, just for an example. But we can't get into some, we can look at some other people.
Don't do it, sir.
We're not going to open that can of worms.
Don't do it. Yeah. So that's basically, you know, this is, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
As far as, no, like, I think we covered a lot.
I think we covered a lot too. So you guys, we want you to tune back in with us. We're going to try to do this a couple of days a week. You know, we're going to see how it goes. Maybe we'll start doing it more. Like we said, this is our first one. We just, any questions that you have, any topics you want us to talk about, any comments you may have, please make sure that you write it down below in the comment section on what you want us to talk about, or if you have any ideas or even any concerns, or maybe something you're going through and you want us to talk about that. Then of course we'll do that, and make sure that you like us. If you like us, thumbs up. If you don't like the topic, thumbs down. It's whatever, because we want you to be honest, and we want to grow as a podcast.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And also, like, you know, there's an algorithm out there that is just anti-Black love. It is what it is. You know it as well as I know it. We always at each other's throat. There's also a level of promiscuity in our culture too. You know, some of the traditions and some of the things that our ancestors, how they lived, we're living totally opposite of that. And for us as parents and as adults and as just mature people, you know, we have a responsibility to really try to deal with and correct some of these things for your children, for my children, for our grandchildren. Like, we got to change the algorithm in out here. If so, I hope to see more positive things that we're doing and that we're talking about, that we're engaging in, versus some of the things that, which is much needed. The Cat Williams thing, it was needed. There was some people that got away with some stuff too long. It was needed, but you know, we do need to have some positive situations like that come together where brothers is talking, brothers and sisters are building. You know, we need to see some positive things going on.
And we're gonna say this and then close out. I will say on what he just said about Cat Williams and everything. Understand, my husband always talks about this. about we're in the time of dark matter. We're in this time when you have to face everything. You have to face your mess. And there's a lot of people that's going to be exposed. If you do not handle your business with yourself, if you do not face your shadows, if you do not make those changes, if you do not make your shift, this thing come to get you, you know, and it's going to be hard for you. And so I would say, start the healing process. We're going to be doing retreats, all these different type of things, so you can come and be a part of it. We'll have different healing modalities there, different lectures, just all these different great things that will be a part of. And of course, we'll talk more about that as that time comes. But yeah, just be a part of us. Come check back in. And if you hit the little bell thingy, it will let you know when we have posted something, and you can take a look and see what we've done. And please make sure, once again, that you let us know what you'd like us to talk about. If you have any comments, thoughts, or questions.
Yeah, and peace and love. Peace and blessings. You know, we wish y'all the best. And we will tap back in with y'all probably in a couple days with another topic.
Yeah.
All right. Peace. The shift.
Peace. The shift.